This is lesson 3.8, find the equation of the line given 2 points. We're going to start with our warm-up. So I just recommend pausing the video, go and work through these two problems. These should be skills that you've already used. And then once you think you have the answers for them, unpause the video, and then you can check to see how you did. Alright, so for this first problem here, this is saying to evaluate, so we're going to take this expression of negative 2/3 x minus 4. And it tells us that x is equal to 6. So we're going to replace x with 6. Remember, when we substitute in, you put parentheses around it, especially if it's next to something else. And then we'll go ahead and do our order of operations. Now notice I put the 6 up here because it should be level with the numerator, because you're going to multiply the 6 to the 2, which will give you 12 over 3. We still have the minus out front. 12 divided by 3 is 4, and there's still going to be a negative there. So it's negative 4 minus 4. This is an alliance. They're both negative terms, so they're going to combine together to make a negative 8. And that is going to be the answer. Now this one is solving, and this one has an equal sign in it. So we're trying to get x by itself. For my first step, I'm going to do flipping. I'm going to take the 2. I'm going to flip it to the other side. So I will get an 8 minus 2 equals 3/4 x. Then I'm going to go ahead and do the combining of these like terms. This is going to be a war, a positive 8 versus a negative 2. And the positives are going to win, and there's going to be 6 positives left over. In our next step, we now have to clear fractions, right? We got to get rid of this 3/4. We clear fractions by multiplying both sides by the denominator. So we're going to multiply this side by 4 and multiply this side by 4. 4 times 6 is 24. And remember, multiplying this side by 4 cancels this dividing by 4. They're opposite operations. So I wind up with 3x equals 24. And then I can divide, as my last step, divide each side by 3. And I wind up with 8 as my answer. All right, let's go ahead and get to the lesson then. We have 3 objectives. We're going to find the slope given 2 points. We're going to find the y-intercept given a point and a slope. And we're going to write the equation of the line given 2 points. Now in this first problem, we're going to do this by graphing. So I'm going to plot the points 3, 5, 9, 7. So go ahead and do that. You can pause the video if you want to get it done. Just make sure that you got it right. All right, so your first point then, 3, 5, would be located here. Sorry. Be located here, and then your point 9, 7 would be right there. So those are our 2 points, and we want to find the equation of the line that passes through those 2 points. I'm going to go ahead and first of all connect these 2 points together, just like that. And by doing so, to find the slope, I'm going to make a slope triangle. So we'll have a line that goes down, a line that goes across till they meet here. And now we've created a slope triangle. Now remember, with the slope triangle, we're looking for the change in y over the change in x. The first thing I notice, this line goes uphill. It means I have a positive slope. And then how long is this side? Well, that's 2 units long, and this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is 6 units long. So this is my change in y. I don't like how I wrote that. So this 2 is my change in y, and this 6 is my change in x. So it is going to be 2 over 6. So that winds up being our slope. Now that can be reduced if you divide the top and bottom by 2. And you can also do this on your calculator. Put in it as a fraction. It will reduce it for you. I'm going to divide the top and bottom by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So 1/3 is going to be your slope. And I recommend using the 1/3. You want to use it in its simplest form. It's usually better. With that, I want to show you that you can see the 1/3 here as well. If I take this dot here and I draw a line over, here's your 1, here's your 3. Here's your 1, here's your 3. So you can see these smaller slope triangles of height of 1 and a width of 3. That's your 1/3. So if you have a fraction that will reduce, you should be able to see that with smaller slope triangles. Well, I'm going to continue that 1/3 going this way. So I'm going to go 1 down, 3 over, and that hits right here on the y-axis. This winds up being the y-intercept. This is the start value. And if I continue 1 down, 3 over, 1 down, 3 over, 1 down, 3 over. And so there's all our points there for the line. Now if I want to draw the whole line, I will pick the farthest points. This point here, and then this point right here. Those are the two I want to line up. So usually I try to make sure that my pencil is on both spots before I draw the line. And that would be our line there. So, so this y-intercept, the start value, is 4. And on the previous part, we found the slope was 1/3. Well, this is all the information we need to write the equation of the line. The equation of the line is y equals mx plus b. And we've covered this on a number of previous lessons. So all we have to do is put in our 1/3 for m and our 4 for b. And that is the equation of the line that goes through these 2 points. All right, let's go and turn to the next page. Well, let's take a look at the next one here. Now, notice there's no grid here, right? I didn't provide you with the graph, but look at these numbers. 27, 18, 39. These are going to be a lot harder to put on a regular piece of graph paper. Now, you can change the scale, but doing the graph, I think, winds up taking more work. I think there's an easier way to do it using a table or using an equation. I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's start by putting these points onto a table. So 927 is our first point, and 1839 is our second point. Now we did this a lot in our previous lessons where we looked at a table and we looked to see what kind of pattern did we see. Here we're going from 9 to 18, so how much did that increase by? Well, that would be a plus 9. So that's our change in x. And over here, 27 to 39, that's an increase of 12. That's our change in y. So we can identify our change in y and our change in x. If we graphed it, we would get a triangle that would be 12 high and 9 long, just like we did on the previous page. It's just this would be hard to graph and do all that counting. I think this is much easier. So your slope, once again, is your change in y over your change in x, which is going to be 12 over 9. Now that you have your 12 over 9, this can be reduced if you do it on your calculator. Essentially, you're just dividing both the top and bottom by 3 in this case. So you get 4 over 3 as your reduced slope. Now there is another way you could have done this. You could have used this equation. This equation does pretty much the same thing you did on the table. What's the difference between the y values? What's the difference between the x values? Now remember, these are your first point values. So your x sub 1 and your y sub 1 would be these two values. And since this is the second point, we'll make this x sub 2 and y sub 2. So if we do these values, y sub 2 is 39, minus y sub 1, which is 27, over x sub 2, which is 18, minus x sub 1, which is 9. Well, if you do the math, subtract that, that's a 12, and that's a 9. It's the exact same thing you got here. So that's why I feel like this is maybe a little bit easier, because we've been doing this already, and it's a little easier to see visually. But you can do this method too. It doesn't matter to me which way you choose. Now that we have the slope of 4/3, we need to find the y-intercept. And since we're not doing that with the graph, we're going to start by writing this equation, y equals mx plus b, and we're going to plug in our m, which we know is 4/3, right? We did all the work to find that it's 4/3, and then we want to find the start value, which is the b value, or the y-intercept. To find this start value, I need to plug the 4/3 in, and I need to plug in an x and a y value. Well, I could choose 920 and 927 or 1839. It's up to me. You can choose either one. I choose the one I think is easier. I'm going to go with the smaller numbers. So the y value is 27. We know this is 4/3, and the x value is 9. So put that in parentheses. Remember, 9, it should be even with the top because that's where you're going to multiply it, plus b. Well, now we'll multiply. 4 times 9, that's 36. And if we do 36 divided by 3, that's 12. And now we're almost done. I'm going to flip the 12 to this side. So I get 27, and when I flip it, it changes sign, becomes negative 12. And then for the last part here, when I subtract that, that is going to be 15. So I know the slope and I know the start value. So I can write y equals mx plus b, and we'll plug in 4/3 for m, and we'll plug in 15 for the start value for b. Now I sometimes get the question, well, why don't we plug in values for x and y? M and b are not changing for this problem. The start value for this is 15 and nothing else. The slope of this line is 4/3 and nothing else. These values don't change for a given line, but these do. And we can see that you could plug in 9 and get 27, you can plug in 18 and get 39. These are true variables. They have all sorts of different values, where m and b only have a single value for a given line. So that's why we leave these as the variables and we only plug these in. It's the slope and the start value that define what the line looks like, how the table looks like. So these are the important pieces. The x and y, that changes all the time. All right, since we're about 12 minutes in, I'm going to go ahead and end this as the first part of this video. Please continue on to part 2.